Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, R.W. Anchor. I'm a freelance journalist slash reporter slash critic slash Australian. And I'm here right now with an amateur comedian. His name's Zach Yonk. You've probably not heard of him. I know I haven't. Zach, great to have you with us. It's good to be here. Well, now listen, Mr. Yonk, why don't you give us a little background about yourself? Well, my name's Zach Yonk. I'm 26 years old. I have been out of college for 4 years. I graduated from the Franciscan University of Steubenville. Why, did you say the Franciscan University of Stupidville? No, I get that a lot. No, Steubenville. Oh, Steubenville, alright. Now, whereabouts is that exactly? Well, Steubenville is actually in northeastern Ohio, It's located about 45 minutes west of Pittsburgh. Oh, Pittsburgh, yeah, of course. Never been there myself, but that's just me. So, where do you hail from originally? You from Steubenville originally? No, actually, I was born in North Carolina. Oh, okay. Well, you don't have much of an accent now, do you? No, you're right, I don't have an accent. I can't really explain why. A lot of people say I got an accent too, but what do they know, right? Actually, you have a pretty strong accent. So what kind of comedy do you like to do? Like, what are some of your main influences? Well, my number one influence, I'd have to say, honestly, is Jim Carrey. Huge fan. I loved him ever since I was a little kid. My aunt and uncle actually took me to see Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when I was 6. Yeah, my parents weren't too happy about that one. But he's probably my biggest influence, but I also enjoy Eddie Murphy. I love his stand-up, Delirious, Raw, all those stand-up films. Beverly Hills Cop was amazing. Trading Places was amazing. He hasn't done as much lately, though. It's been kind of hit or miss as far as this part in his career goes. Oh, yeah, Jim Carrey. I've seen a bunch of his films. I mean, The Mask, it's bloody hilarious, you know what I'm saying? And, I never saw Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Well, I mean, I have to say, Ace Ventura is not one of the... And Eddie Murphy, now, I'm trying to think what movies I've seen him. He's that Blackie that does, did you just say Blackie? Sorry, Mike, what I meant to say was, African American. Apologize for that. Disregard that comment, folks. But the movie with all those big fat black people, what was it called again? You mean The Nutty Professor? Yeah, that's right, The Nutty Professor. Oh, that movie was bloody hilarious, man. I was rolling on my ass in the aisles at the theater when that one came out. I thoroughly enjoyed The Nutty Professor too. That was a great Eddie Murphy film. I also really enjoyed the reboot of Dr. Dolittle. I thought that was really funny too, where he's talking to the animals. Now, I didn't like Dr. Dolittle so much. Oh, well, okay. So, how long have you been doing this stand-up comedy thing anyway? Well, I've only been doing it since about late January, early February, just going to a lot of the open mics in the Raleigh area, a couple in Durham. I went to a competition, actually, in Wilmington a couple of weeks ago. Oh, no kidding, you were in a competition. How'd that go? Well, let's just say it didn't go as well as I wanted it to. And that's too bad, Mike. Why is that? Well, I mean, I didn't really prepare for it a whole lot, as much as I should have. I definitely underestimated the caliber of the other competitors. They were pretty good, actually. I was quite surprised. I just wasn't really prepared. I tried to force a little bit too much. I think I relied too much on the F word, and didn't seem like any other comedians did. So I look back on that, and I'm just like, I was a little bit too crass, a little bit too immature. Honestly, you're one of those wankers that don't like to use the F word too much, I only like to use it when it's not forced. You know what I mean? I don't like to be up there going F this, F that, F this, F that. If it flows naturally, then fine. If it's part of the conversation, great. But I go back and I listen to some of the recordings where I just go F, 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 and it's embarrassing. It's immature. I'm really trying hard to move away from that and to reshape my style. Yeah, I guess I know what you mean. The F word gets used a little too frequently around these parts these days, especially in the world of stand-up. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Whenever I thought about actually getting into stand-up before I actually started, I always told myself I wasn't going to be like that, but then over the last few times I've gone up, I've found myself degenerating back into that style, and it's something I really would like to move away from. Well, why don't you tell me about your style a little bit, I mean, like, what kind of jokes do you like to tell? What kind of humor do you like to dig into? You know what I'm saying? Well, I do like to talk a lot about race. For example, African Americans, Asians, Indians, Mexicans, but not in a demeaning way. more of just a humorous, anecdotal, real world kind of way. Oh, so you like to joke about different colors of people and stuff, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I just said. But yeah, I mean that's one aspect of it. I also like to draw on childhood stories, childhood incidents, stories from work, stories from friends, stuff that you can sort of add to maybe just a little bit. I try very, very hard not to steal from anybody. I don't want to be thought of as that guy. Oh yeah, nobody likes a thief. I know exactly what you mean. Last guy tried to rob me, I cut his throat wide open like a bloody crocodile's mouth, you know what I mean? Well, that's alright, mate. I don't expect you to know you're not from down under like I am. But anyway, so you got any shows coming up? You got any gigs? Anywhere to spread your notoriety? Well, actually, I have a couple of open mics coming up at the Tir Nogue on Blount Street in Raleigh. The first one's going to be on May 13th, and the second one's going to be on May 26th. I also have a possible open mic coming up in Greensboro on the 22nd at a place called the Idiot Box. That's a pretty good place to go from what I've heard from fellow comedians. I think I might try that out. Sorry. Wow, the Idiot Box. I thought that was in Washington, D.C. No, it's in Greensboro. So, I mean, that's one I would like to maybe try to get into. I also have an open mic. It's more like a cancer benefit open mic going on in Fayetteville on the 24th. So, I'm keeping myself, fairly busy with, sessions and that sort of thing. I would like to try to find more. One of the other comedians that I met sent me a spreadsheet of different clubs and bars in the area where they do stand-up and open mics and whatnot. Oh, that's terrific, man. That's bloody terrific, yeah. So, I mean, well, that's great. It's good to say that, that you want to do it, you want to work hard and get out and get people to know your name and network, I guess you might say, eh? Yeah, I mean, networking too. I would like to get somewhere in the world of stand-up comedy. Being an amateur is great. Don't get me wrong. It's a great learning experience. You meet a lot of cool people, and you learn a lot about comedy in general from the people that you run into. But I would eventually like to make it a career. I would like to be a professional comedian. I think it would be a lot of fun. People have always told me I would be good at it. So I would like that. That's my main goal. Okay, you want to be one of those chaps that goes on like Comedy Central and stuff and roasts Donald Trump and Charlie Sheen and all those other wankers? Well, I mean, I don't want to set my sights too high. But, eventually I would like to have comedy as a profession. Well, that's great. We don't have a lot of time here, so let me get right to the next question. What do you think about anal sex? I'm sorry? What did you say? No, I want to know what your position was on anal sex. I was listening to the radio once about it. It was satellite radio. They would never broadcast that on the regular airwaves, you know what I'm saying? But they tried to say that a 5.5-inch dick is perfect for anal. I'm not sure I want to talk about this. I'm sorry. It's not my thing. What, not your thing? What kind of man doesn't like anal sex? Come on, mate. Don't be a wanker. Sorry. It's just... It's not something I'm interested in talking about. Well, fair enough. I understand. It's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Just for red-blooded men that like it a little tighter. You know what I'm saying? Can we just move on, please? Yeah, sure. I'm terribly sorry, mate. I didn't mean to get off on that kind of a tangent. What do you think about the new Star Wars trilogy that's coming out, eh? Well, I mean, not much, actually. All I've read recently was that they released the cast list for the next movie, Episode 7. It's supposed to come out next year, I believe, somewhere, I think, in the summer of 2015. I also read that, some of the big stars from the old trilogy, like Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, I hear they're making cameos, so that'll be pretty cool to see them on the screen again. But I don't know. I mean, I really haven't read a whole lot. I loved the original trilogy. I wasn't a big fan of the new trilogy, though. Special effects were amazing, but the writing was awful. It was just... Yeah, I gotta say I wasn't a big fan of the new trilogy myself. Like you said, the special effects were terrific. I mean, the lightsaber duels, well, those were amazing. But the acting was atrocious, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, you had the amazing original trilogy, then you had the very mediocre new trilogy. So, I mean, I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I'm glad that it's supposedly going in a different direction. I'm glad George Lucas is just a creative consultant. It'd be nice to have a new set of ideas, a new style, as regards to that film canon, you know? Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I mean, it's got to be better than the Avengers too, right? I didn't even like the first one. The first one was a bunch of faggots and tights and capes and shit. Well, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the Avengers myself, but I didn't think it was that bad. Well, that's all the time we got today. All right, I'm here with amateur comedian Zach Yonk. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host. It's RW Anchor, and y'all have a nice day, eh?